Hello, and welcome to the show Goldsquadrongays. It's the podcast where two Star Wars loving gays break down each episode of their favorite Star Wars TV shows while also being gay as hell. I'm your host, Bradley Brower.
I'm your other host, Charles Rogers, coming to you from that most sacred of podcast spaces, the floor of my fucking closet.
Perfect for Pride Month.
Perfect. Happy Pride Month to me. Sitting on the floor of my closet.
In your closet.
Obi-Wan Kenobi beard. No.
Yeah, you do.
I do.
You do have a Kenobi beard.
I should have grown my hair out, is the thing. Listeners, I do apologize for the fact that I am recording this on my iPhone. It is not my normal podcast mic. I am attempting to move. And so the state of where everything is right now, the main apartment is extremely echoey and my computer has been entirely disconnected. So unfortunately, this is what you're getting for the next episode or two. So if you are keeping track, that means, yes, I went straight from SWCA to having COVID to the second I get out of COVID isolation, I will be moving across town. It has been a very long few weeks for me, and I am very tired. I am very tired. Much like Obi-Wan Kenobi, who I am emulating this week. I don't think we have any news, Bradley, to go over. We do have a thing Charles fucked up.
What did Charles fuck up?
So on the previous episode, I mistakenly said that Bad Batch and Andor... Well, I said that Andor would be coming out at the end of October, and I said Bad Batch might come out at the end of October. I meant August. I don't know why I said October.
I didn't even catch that. Yeah, that's fair. And I have the dates written down. So
it's super weird because I listened back to the episode. I was like, how did neither of us catch that?
That is weird.
That is so strange.
It's probably because, you know what, I had Andor. I think my guess for Andor before we knew the official date, I had it as October on my.
I think so.
My calendar.
I think it's October in my brain.
Yeah, it's in my brain. It's like Halloween is like, I don't know why. That was just in my brain like that.
Yeah, well, for those of you keeping track at home, Andor premieres August 31st. We don't know when Bad Batch is premiere. Maybe September 28th. Who the fuck knows at this point?
I mean, honestly, I'd rather them just wait. I don't necessarily want it back to back because then it's like I need a break once in a while.
All right, Bradley, you want to go ahead and take us into this episode?
Yes, this week we're going to be discussing Kenobi Part 2. This week, Obi-Wan Kenobi tracks the kidnappers to the planet Daiyu. Here, Kenobi encounters a con man named Haja who is pretending to be a Jedi. With his help, Kenobi finds Leia and rescues her. Word gets to the Grand Inquisitor of Kenobi's presence, and Reva disobeys orders to stand down and releases a bounty on Kenobi, causing local mercenaries to hunt them down. Reva confronts Kenobi before he escapes and reveals that Anakin Skywalker is in fact alive. The Grand Inquisitor arrives to arrest Kenobi himself, but Reva stabs him inadvertently, allowing Kenobi and Leia to escape. Charles, what is one thing you liked about the episode and one thing you did not?
So one thing I liked about the episode is the planet Daiyu is such an interesting planet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get it. It's just space Hong Kong, but that's really cool. And like, that makes sense. And we haven't necessarily seen that before. I like it being this like crime-riddled planet. I just love everything about it. The one thing I didn't like, it's very difficult to criticize this show because I love the show so much.
Right.
But I'm going to complain about something because of the discourse it caused, which is the shot of the Grand Inquisitor lying on the ground and he looks like he's dead. Now, obviously, they've had to come, like, the discourse around this has been so strong that obviously they've come out and been like, yes, we are aware he is still alive in Rebels, and yes, we know Rebels takes place after this. Yes, we know he dies in Rebels. All of you need to calm down. But here's the thing with me.
Yeah.
So most times in Star Wars discourse, it comes from a very stupid place. Asking whether or not something is going to be overwritten is not a stupid question. And the reason is because Star Wars has done it before. Animation just sort of ignored or overwrote the Kanan comic. And a lot of people were mad about that. Bad Batch then went on to be even more confusing by like maybe killing off Orn Frita, and then it had to come back a week later and be like, no, guys, it was an attempted assassination. So I think obviously they're going into a direction where like the Grand Inquisitor is going to pop back up and be like, surprise, bitch, I lived.
Right. But especially it's going to happen in this show. Like they're not stupid. You know what I mean?
It's such, just specifically the shot of him lying there with his eyes open like he's dead.
Yeah.
That's confusing.
It's questionable. Yeah, it's questionable.
And I didn't like the discourse that it caused. Now, once we have the full show, because we don't have the full show yet, my view on that might soften, but for now I'm pretty sick of hearing about it, but two, it is a legitimate thing to bring up. Right. What about you, Bradley? What is one thing you liked and one thing you did not?
One thing I really liked about this episode was the character of Hasha. I thought he absolutely nailed it. Like, I thought it was funny in just enough, like where it's kind of that, I call it Marvel funny, like Marvel comedy, where like they put a little bit in there to make you like chuckle once in a while, but it's not like so funny that it's annoying. I don't know. I just feel like he does such a good job with that character, and I want more from the character. Like, you're like, wait, we only got one episode. Like, I need more of him. Like, that's what I like about his character, his acting, especially, that he keeps you wanting more. So that was one thing I really liked, was the Haja character. The thing I did not like, like you said, it's really hard to pick up something. Oh God, I gotta pick something. Maybe
you do have to pick something.
Okay, I'll say my one thing I didn't like is kind of off of one thing you liked, is I feel like we didn't get enough of Dayu. Like, I felt like they kind of built it up, especially in like the very few interviews that we got of Deborah Chow, and the actors being like, oh, they're going to this new planet that you see in the trailers or whatever. They kind of built it up a little bit, and I was like, oh, we're only there for one episode and we're never going back. I would have liked to see more of it, or at least stay there for another episode or something,
Yeah, and like, obviously they wanted to hide the stuff on the Puzo, because at that point, like, Leia is super attached to Obi-Wan at the hip, and like, as of recording this, episode 4 has just come out. The planet that they are at, both planets, the planet and the moon that they are at in episode 4, both of those are like big ass deals.
Yeah.
Especially the planet. I can see why they would not have wanted to reveal that. But like, yeah, we needed more than one episode. I need more stuff on Dayu. Now, Bradley, I know that you've recently just learned how to read. There is a book that surprised me. There was a book called, I think it was just called Canto Bight.
Okay.
And it was 4 stories that were set on the planet Canto Bight from The Last Jedi, written by 4 different authors that were happening concurrently. And it was just like a good snapshot of what life is like on Canto Bight. I kind of want that for Dayu.
Okay, so like just a book that maybe, like you said, like 4 different perspectives, and like it just kind of goes back and forth between them.
Yeah, like something like that, or like a Tales from Dayu's thing or something. That like, let's live a little on this planet, because it's such an interesting planet.
What could be interesting is maybe a short story on that one character, the drug dealer girl.
Yes, we'll get to her in a second.
Yeah, we'll get to her, but like, I feel like that could be an interesting person to follow, if like whatever her, because she kind of hinted at her story a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely would want to see something like that for Dayu going forward. I was going to say something, but I blanked on it.
I guess that's a good of segue as any.
That's as good of a segue as any. Let's fucking go. Bradley, take us into the first act.
Our story begins on the planet Dayu, where Kenobi has tracked the kidnappers. On the streets, he comes across a veteran clone trooper down on his luck, and a local street urchin offers to take him to a local Jedi to help him on his quest.
So the bit where he's talking about meeting Qui-Gon, Qui-Gon's showing up at the end of this show. Like we agree this, right?
Oh, this is definitely happening. Like we're on episode 4 in real life now. I mean, if Qui-Gon's not in the next episode or the finale, you know what I mean? Like it's the one or the other. Like,
they would not bring him up this much if he wasn't going to show up. And fucking Liam Neeson's going to be in Tales of the Jedi.
Yeah, he's already recorded all of his stuff that he needed to do for this months ago. Like,
Yeah, like while he's there, just pop him onto a green screen like they did with Alec Guinness.
Absolutely.
Pay him a shitload of money. Here you go.
And you can keep it a secret because if he's just on a green screen, it doesn't take that many people. All you need to do is have a bunch of people light it and shit, have one camera guy and be like, all right, thanks. Like, everybody go home for the day. Like, we'll film the rest in secret.
You could 100% James Earl Jones that shit.
Yes.
You could 100% James Earl Jones that shit.
Oh, yeah.
My next note is in all caps, just the name Tem. We are very excited to see Tamara Morrison back as the clone trooper.
Like I said when we were doing Book of Boba, I said it would not be hard for them to they already have Tamara Morrison. All they have to do is just put them in a fucking clone outfit and call it a day.
Which is exactly what they fucking did.
That's exactly what they did. I was so fucking hyped when that came on screen because I thought for a hot, like I was going a little too close to the sun. And I was like, oh my God, they're doing Rex. But then I was like, okay, wait, whoa. I was like, let's take a step back. It's just a rando clone. He doesn't really recognize him. Calm down.
So you wanted some pain about this clone?
Yes, give me the pain. I already love it because he's already a fucking hobo. So it's already. Did
you notice the armor that the clone is wearing?
I did read that it is 501st armor.
It is 501st Trooper armor. So not only is that probably a clone that knew Obi-Wan Kenobi, because the 501st was Anakin Skywalker's unit.
Right.
They served alongside the 212th, which was Obi-Wan Kenobi's unit. This guy probably served under Obi-Wan.
That's crazy.
And on top of that, because he's 501st, this dude probably marched on the Jedi Temple.
So not only did he probably know Kenobi, he also knows that this clone in particular probably killed younglings and other Jedi. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this show so much.
Oh my God, the pain. I mean, we just watched episode 4, and episode 4 goes places with that pain.
Right. But now I'm like, I want them to explore more of these live action clones, like just being, fucking veterans that nobody wants to help. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's so like interesting. Like, I need that perspective. I need that story.
But Bradley, they can't do that. That would be political, and there's no politics in Star Wars, Bradley.
Well, of course.
There's no politics. We can't talk about the poor treatment of veterans.
Oh, you're right. That would be bad.
We can't do it. That would be politics, and there is no politics in Star Wars. This is definitely not making a point.
I mean, I know. I love how this is just supposed to be like an Easter egg, but that it's also like technically a political statement too. In the sense, it's like, look, this is how the government treats veterans when they no longer need them anymore. It's so sad, but it's true.
It's 10 years later, and the events of the Bad Batch will have happened.
Oh, that's so crazy.
My one final note for this sequence. So the drug dealer, this has been covered by many people. Mm-hmm. The drug dealer who gives him the spice is played by Ewan McGregor's actual real life daughter.
I love that. That's really nice.
I don't have her name up in front of me, and unfortunately I'm on my phone, and it is tricky enough to try to record this audio as it is without me frantically Googling things. But that is Ewan McGregor's actual real life daughter.
Her name is Esther Rose.
Esther Rose
Rose McGregor.
So when he says, I'm looking for my daughter, and she's like, oh, I was someone's daughter.
I was someone's daughter's once.
Yeah, you're talking to him.
Yeah, that's hilarious, actually. I do love that. I love when they do shit like that, because you're just like, clever Deborah Chow.
What you did there.
Once Kenobi finds this Jedi, Haja, who appears to be helping people off the planet, he quickly realizes that this Jedi is a con artist, tricking people and collecting their credits. Kenobi confronts him and enlists his help to locate Leia.
Okay, so Kumail Nanjiani is playing the Kumail Nanjiani character that he plays, doing it very, very well. You can definitely see why they hired him for this role.
Oh, for sure.
Because it requires such a degree of charisma that he specifically brings to roles. So when I say he plays the character that he plays in this, that is not a knock. They went to the professional for this.
Yeah, he definitely has that aesthetic that he there's just something about his like you said, his character he plays that he just I can't explain what it is, but it's just a charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent that he has.
Oh my God.
Speaking of, he was also a guest judge on RuPaul's Drag Race once. So there's his gay connection right there. Oh, he was also on Game of Thrones too. So
wow, this dude really is an ally.
So he is not only an ally, he is a Star Wars fan and he is a Marvel fan. So for you know what, for our purposes, he has a gay trifecta.
Has he completed the Disney trifecta?
Almost. He doesn't have a Disney thing, like a a solid like a regular Disney thing.
Disney, get on that.
I know. Disney. I'm like I was surprised because I looked it up. I was like, he's got to have something, like just a voice or something. Nope, they haven't done it yet. So I'm assuming maybe down the road. I mean, he did Eternals, so he'll come back for that. And then obviously now he's on Star Wars. So I think they're probably just waiting for the right role to come for him, just the right maybe animation role or something that they want to stick him in for some Disney thing or Pixar thing.
I mean, he basically is an animated character. So there's a fun little Easter egg with this kid that he's helping escape.
Mm-hmm.
So the kid, he's trying to get to Corellia, and the kid's name is not mentioned in the show.
No.
But if you pay attention to the credits, that kid is credited as playing Corran. Corran Horn was a major character from the old EU who was a Jedi with Luke Skywalker's New Jedi Order, who came from Corellia.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I believe he is from the X-Wing books by Aaron Alston. I believe that is where his primary appearances are, but I do also remember him popping up in some of the later stuff like Fate of the Jedi, Legacy of the Force, and all that I read. So fun little Easter eggs for Legends fans. You neither know nor care about any of this. So
no, I don't care about Legends because it didn't happen.
It was real. Don't say that. It was real to me.
Doesn't look like anything to me. Doesn't look like anything to me. That's a Westworld joke for you.
Oh, I watched season 1 and then I watched season 2 and I was like, I can't follow this.
No. There's actually, what's funny is there is like a Star Wars explained-esque video out there. Like you can watch, like it's like breaks down each season of Westworld. I swear to you, they're like 30 minutes long and they still don't make a goddamn bit of sense. Like it's so funny how complicated that show is because it's like multiple timelines and like all this shit. You're just like, all right, I can't deal with this anymore.
I keep seeing ads for it and I'm like, that fucking show is still on. I mean,
that all being said, great show. I love it.
Maybe if I'm in a mood, I've been following a lot of Game of Thrones content creators, and honestly, House of the Dragon looks good. So like maybe I'll revert back to.
I don't know if I can give that one a chance. I just don't know. I think the other one just left such a sour taste. Like it's one of those things where it's like you eat something you really like for a long time and then you throw up and you're like, oh, never getting that again. That's literally
so basically what happened with me and Fireball shots in college.
I was gonna say me and Panda Express in college.
You can't eat Panda Express. You are missing out.
I know, it was so good. I used to love it.
I love Obi-Wan's like sass in this scene.
Oh, when he's like very like placating him the whole time. He's like, oh really? That's how much? It's a testament to Ian McGregor's character, like how well he knows the character of Kenobi.
It's like sassy Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's wonderful. Where he's like, oh, do you know about the Force? No, tell me all about the
please
Force.
Yeah, please do tell me.
One final note, and I don't know if it's this scene or the next scene, but Ewan McGregor is very good at tapping into some of the same mannerisms he has. So you'll notice points during these scenes where he's like touching his face when he's thinking. And I think that is cool that he is continuing to do that mannerism. And of course, the Clone Wars animators did it as well when they were doing the animation. But that was just something I noted that was cool.
With Haja's intel, Kenobi locates the place where the princess is being kept. He sneaks in and finds her. Unfortunately, it's a trap. And Kenobi is confronted by Vest Nokru and tells him the Inquisitor is on her way. Kenobi escapes by exploding the spice pack he received earlier. He finally locates Leia, who tries to run from him, but he convinces her to go.
I love when Star Wars is weird aliens. I'm sorry, I do. I love it
Yeah.
when they're like, here's a fucking like dollar store mask, put it on.
You know
I
what?
love
Fuck
that
it.
shit.
We'll
love
get
that
to
shit.
it. We'll get to it in the next episode. The alien that we meet in the next episode, where it's just like obviously just like an animal, but just humanoid. Like you're like, all right.
Oh, we'll get to fucking Fleck or whatever the fuck his name is. I also do like that, like, yeah, he's not using the Force, and yeah, he's not using a lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like that Obi-Wan Kenobi is very clearly combat trained.
He clearly has some kind of jitsu fighting style of some kind. I don't want anybody to come for me like
it might be a keto. I believe it might be a keto.
I think that's what someone told me. My friend is really into like fighting, and he was like, "Oh, he's using this style of fighting, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's nice."
And we're having your friend on the show to discuss the fighting styles. What was that show actually? There was something we were talking about your friend that's big into the fight choreography.
Oh, he mentioned something about the Ahsoka scene in Mando 2, where he was talking about like fighting with the when she was fighting with the lady with the spear.
Oh yeah,
the fight choreographer lady.
Do you remember? Okay,
I can't remember her name, but
our 2.5-hour mega episode on 45 minutes of television.
Exactly, and I was like, as much fun as it would be to discuss that stuff, I can't make it a 4-hour episode. Yeah, exactly.
We don't need to make this even longer. Good Lord. No. Listeners, we are not doing guests for Kenobi, in part because it is just difficult enough to schedule with just me and Bradley.
Well, clearly, it's even more difficult than we thought it was going to be.
Clearly, I'm in my fucking closet right now trying to record this. I have been holding the microphone in the same place for the past 25 minutes, trying to get the audio fine. The audio will not be fine. Good luck, Bradley. But the other reason we're not having guests is because there's just so much to talk about in Obi-Wan Kenobi. We would be clocking 3-hour episodes
easily. I'm surprised we can barely keep it under an hour 30. We're like, all right, let's,
And we are not Hope and Chris from Jag Guys and Jedi. We cannot make a 3-hour episode work. They can make a 3-hour episode work. I cannot make a 3-hour episode work.
No, definitely not.
I just have the word move in quotation marks, and I don't remember why. Do you remember?
Honestly, no.
Okay.
Move. Maybe. Does Reva say that at some point?
Yes. Yeah. So I fucking love the bit where she walks up to the guy.
The club owner or something? Yeah. Yeah. She's like,
and he's just, after a second, he's like, you know what?
I want to keep my hand today.
You know what? I like keeping all of my blood inside my body. I have the note here as far as Leia and Ben. This is the same girl who will eventually take over her own rescue on the Death Star.
I do like that.
And you can very clearly see it.
Well, you seen it because like literally when he goes in to get her, she's like already running out the door. Like she's like, oh, I escaped. Like this is my chance. Like, yeah, she had a whole plan. She's not old enough to have the experience. So she kind of follows along Ben, up to a certain point and then continues to do it. Right. Because I think she recognizes at her age, he has the experience. She, however, definitely has all that same gumption of like, I know we're going to do things my way. Own antagonist. Yes.
And those antagonists are not Obi-Wan. You think of a traditional like story structure, you're going to have a protagonist and an antagonist, and they're going to be at odds with each other. Right. Reva is very much the protagonist of her own story. And Absolutely. She has her own antagonist in the form of the Grand Inquisitor, the Fifth Brother, Darth Vader, and Obi-Wan is Obi-Wan is almost a plot device in her story. He's kind of her MacGuffin. He's a thing for her to chase. Her goal is just like her end goal, clearly, it seems to be anyway, is to be Grand Inquisitor. The only way to be Grand Inquisitor is to catch Kenobi for Vader. So it's like, there's no like hero in her story. She's the hero. She's the main character. Yeah. And like, it's really fucking good screenwriting. Like a lot, again, I'm going to put on the hat of, I literally have a degree in screenwriting. I know good screenwriting when I see it. Yeah. This is excellent screenwriting. I agree. Because Reva can serve as the antagonist to Obi-Wan while also serving as a protagonist of her own story. But Obi-Wan doesn't necessarily have to be her main antagonist. She has other antagonists in the form of Grand Inquisitor, Fifth Brother, and Vader.
Absolutely.
So I love that. It's really clever. And it also speaks to how proactive of a character she is in foil to Obi-Wan. God, the writing on the show is so fucking good. Oh my God. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. I would like an entire book about the bounty hunter dinosaur, please.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay. So, like we were talking about random ass aliens, this was definitely like random. When I saw the fucking Jurassic Park alien, is this like a subtle promo for Jurassic World coming out like this Friday? Like, what is going on?
If they gave me like Blue turns into a bounty hunter, I would eat that shit up.
But now that I have him, I kind of want more of that alien to show up. Like, I'm like, you know what? We do need more T-Rex people in Star Wars.
We
Why
need
not?
more T-Rex people in Star Wars. This is the gay agenda. This is what I want for Pride Month.
Sure, let's do it.
I want T-Rex people in Star Wars. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, I mean, they gave us, more Deveronians with Mandalorian and more Twi'leks with Mandalorian. So now, and Boba Fett. So now I'm like, all right, what's more? What's another alien we need more of? And you know what? I didn't know it was fucking raptor people, but that's what we need. Like that's just what we need.
That's one of the benefits that Star Wars has above because Star Wars is space fantasy. It's not science fiction. I don't give a fuck what Hank Green says. Hank Green is wrong. Because it's space fantasy, you don't have to think very much about what are the limitations. What are we doing in terms of making it so this might be a species that would realistically exist? Nah, slap a fucking dinosaur head on that thing and go.
Right, because then the second they introduce this new character, like I can already see the nerds typing on their little computers being like, oh, well, that just means that there's a whole nother planet. There's a whole nother government system. There's a whole nother subspecies on that planet. There's a whole nother, there's like 5 different variations of that species, like blah, blah, blah. Like they're all going through their fucking notes and they're all trying to make up all this like backstory.
I don't appreciate being directly attacked like this, Bradley. On my own show, no less.
Right. But I love it. I love it.
One tiny note, something that was weird. The subtitles spell Tall, the planet that Ben tells Leia that they're from.
Mm-hmm.
They spell it Tawl in both this and episode 3, whereas I've always seen it spelled Taul. Which is
that could just be a
weird
subtitle thing, though.
I don't know if it's like a subtitle. Somebody didn't check with Story Group,
right?
But I'm pretty sure Tall is spelled Taul.
Well, because I think tell me if I'm wrong, but we've never been there, have we?
We have been there. The only time I can think of that we've visually seen it is in Lego Star Wars: The Force Awakens. It is where Han and Chewbacca acquire the Rathtars. No, I am wrong.
Yeah,
I believe.
I
want Wikipedia. It is either. You know what? I am gonna walk that back. I am pretty sure it is the planet on which C-3PO crashes and gets his red arm.
Okay. Well, maybe you can check
because
that
I vaguely I remember the mission. Yeah, that'll be the thing Charles fucked up. That'll be the
okay,
thing.
Cool. Yeah, we'll check it next week because they bring it up again next week. So we'll do that.
Put your guesses in the comments below whether
or not you
think it's one or the other. I guarantee you by the time this episode comes out, I will have checked it. Chris, do not text me
right
with the right answer.
How did you not know that it was the planet where
fight for the fact that we literally have Discord threads where I go through your episodes and point out everything you got wrong. You will want to come in. No, Chris, I'm looking at you. Shout out Dark Side Divas. You should check out their Patreon. They just launched one. Anyway, the last note I sort of had for this section before we move on to the next one is, now my original note was that Leia thinks Obi-Wan's name is Ben. Episode 4 showed that she very clearly knows his name is Obi-Wan, but she's used to calling him Ben. And this is important because do you remember when I talked about going back and checking A New Hope? So I will now quote the dialogue to you from the Luke scene.
Okay.
And if possible, Bradley, you may just want to layer it over instead of me saying it.
I actually might do that. Okay. Yeah. Well, if it's the same.
Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
A little short for a stormtrooper?
Huh? Oh, the uniform.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
You're who?
I'm here to rescue you. I've got your R2 unit. I'm here with Ben Kenobi.
Ben Kenobi, where is he?
Come on.
So if you hear in that scene, she refers to him as Ben Kenobi, and that she immediately recognizes the name Ben and calls him Ben. Like, she knows his name is Obi-Wan, but the second Luke is like, oh, Ben is here. So I thought that was interesting that he introduces himself as Ben, and all the way up until episode 4, no one addresses him as Obi-Wan to her.
Right. That is weird. Like you said, once you go back and watch it, I'm sure it all makes sense.
It all makes sense. Go back and watch A New Hope. It's on Disney Plus. It's a very good movie. You probably have never seen it if you're listening to this show.
Right. Yeah. It's an old movie, so it's probably
It's a
really hard
very
to get
old
through.
movie. It's about 50 years old.
Oof. It's still a little rough.
It's a little rough.
Yeah.
But I think you'll find some things in it that you'll like.
With the bounty out on the pair, Leia and Kenobi make their way through the city. Leia notices that the bounty is for Kenobi and not her, and her distrust in him causes her to run away. During the chase, Kenobi fights off bounty hunters, signaling Reva to his location. Leia, attempting to flee, jumps from a building and falls. Kenobi reaches out with the Force and saves her from death.
When she says, I'm just Leia, my note is, ugh, I love her. She's such a great character.
God, the acting, she is so good.
Vivian Lyra Blair, so good.
I'm so shocked by her acting. I really am. Because for a kid, look, here's the thing. With kid actors, you either get a decent performance or you get a once in a lifetime performance, like from someone who just is just you weren't expecting them to be that good, and then they just from birth they're just amazing. She's one of those actors, you can tell she just has something.
She is consistently nailed. Even in this show, we are on episode 4 now. She has consistently nailed every scene that she is in for 4 episodes. She is holding her own with Ewan McGregor and Moses fucking Ingram. She's so good.
I can't get over it.
100% correct about what happened when she's like, they're not after me. They captured me to get to you. She's totally right about this.
100%. And Leia is so smart that she just knows things. Again, it's her kind of semi using the Force, but it's subconsciously. So she's just so keen to everything that's going on around her and the details. She just knows what's going on.
I love it. And you can tell that's not even really her using the Force. That's her being like, I'm 10, but I'm already smarter than most people around me. I have in my notes here that the 4th sister is already a Slay. We haven't gotten much of her anywhere, but I have ruled her a Slay purely because she does have those vibes.
I do like her. I wish we kind of would get more of her. I know she's kind of just there to be kind of the filler Inquisitor, because the 5th brother clearly has a vendetta against Reva, and then Reva is the main Inquisitor that we're following, and then of course the Grand Inquisitor is our our leader, of course, and then
who gets replaced at the end of this episode with another character.
Right. I think that might be the thing I didn't like about the episode, but we'll when we get to it.
All right. Well, I guess my final note for this sequence is I love that Ben uses the Force for the first time in 10 years to save Anakin's daughter.
I also liked how she was when when I want you to prove it to me, she's make me float. So
I can't make you float.
That
he made her float.
He made her float.
And she even remarks on it later, you can make me float.
Right. I think that's probably the only thing he could have done to make her truly believe. And that's kind of a nice little poetic thing there where it's she doesn't believe you unless you use telekinesis, basically, is the only way to prove you're a Jedi at this point.
Well, it's also Obi-Wan Kenobi looking out for another
Yeah.
fucking Skywalker
Ugh,
who's
I love
gotten into a
that.
situation she's not prepared for.
I love how like cyclical that Star Wars is. So it's
You
just
see,
nice
it's like
to,
poetry. It rhymes.
it all rhymes. Once the pair reach the spaceport, they are confronted by Haja. He tells them of a cargo port that they can use instead where they won't be tracked. Haja distracts Riva, who is using a real mind trick to gather information she needs to find Kenobi.
So, Rip Forlom, I guess. I don't know if that actually was Forlom after all, or it was Forlom and he's just going to get put back together.
Yeah, I mean, I guess droids can always get fixed. So whenever a droid quote unquote dies in these shows, like or in the movies and stuff, it's just they put it back together. It's fine.
Well, Forlom also has gotten like fucked up and then put back together in the comics before. Shout out to Daniel Jose Older for writing the Forlom and Zuckuss one shot that broke my heart and made me care about these stupid characters. Good job, Daniel Jose Older, who I met at Celebration. He was lovely. Haja is such an interesting character in just one episode.
There's so much depth to his character and so much. He did not waste any screen time with this character. He said, like, if you're going to put me in Star Wars, like, I'm going to take up every single minute that I am in, and I'm just going to chew the scene apart.
Yeah, like, this dude really had, like, 5 minutes, maybe 8 minutes total of screen time.
Right.
And is easily one of the most memorable Star Wars characters. Because he's got that beautiful, like, moral gray complexity. He's got a heart of gold. He's played by Kumail Nanjiani. There's so much working for this guy.
Also, let's talk about how, like, I know he's not, like, technically quote unquote brave, but he is brave because he just stood up to a fucking Inquisitor. Like,
he does go and confront the scene where him and Riva are squaring off. Fucking incredible.
So
incredible
good.
Shit. Like, we love legends fighting legends. We'll come back to that in just a second, because I do have one little note here in the middle, which is Rip Flea.
Oh,
sorry, buddy.
Oh yeah. Well, Rio doesn't have time for failure.
Hope you had fun. What's the Grand Inquisitor like? Chops him into pieces.
Oh, is it? Oh, the Grand Inquisitor.
It's the Grand Inquisitor.
That's right, because she's off chasing Kenobi. Okay, you're right.
She's off chasing Kenobi.
Yeah, he does. Well, the Grand Inquisitor also doesn't have time for shit. So
no, he does not. He's the Grand Inquisitor for a reason.
Yeah.
Returning to the scene with Riva and Haja, she does the thing on him that, like, Kylo Ren does in The Force Awakens. And I just want to note that the series really did say sequel trilogy rights, which I do think is cool that they're incorporating stuff from the sequel trilogy into it. Now that the sequel trilogy is done, they can take some of that stuff and work it in a little more seamlessly. I think part of the problem with incorporating stuff into, like, Rebels, the problem was it felt super random. Like, they added that random, like, crossguard lightsaber in the Malachor stuff at the end of season 2.
Yeah.
So, like, when stuff from the sequels would show up in Rebels, it was, like, super random.
Yeah, it was too early.
Clearly, like, here is this thing, and now that the 3 movies have had time to sort of settle, we're getting things from them being brought over, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, and I actually really like that she does this kind of I'll call it a mind trick, even though it's not really a mind trick, but it, like,
Elzar Mann would call it a mind touch.
Mind touch, that's right.
Which is worse somehow.
Well, because a mind touch actually sounds evil if you think about it, because, like, the whole even meta Jedi mind trick is also kind of pretty evil if you think about it, because you're convincing people of things, or you're tricking them into doing something that they don't necessarily want to do. But
Elzar Mann makes that point, and he makes that point because you've read Light of the Jedi.
I did read that book, which is, again, one thing I liked about that.
Of all people who maybe don't need to be making moral judgments about things, Elzar fucking Mann is maybe one of those people who needs to sit down, shut up, and stay in his lane. But we'll get to that when you get more into the High Republic stuff. My final note on this sequence is: do we think that, like, Riva ripping the information out of Haja's brain might be literally the first time he has ever seen the Force?
Yes, because
'Cause
Kenobi
look
didn't
at
do anything for him, like in front of him or anything
look
like
at
that.
his face when she walks away. He is terrified.
Yeah, I think because he was pretending for so long to be able to do that stuff, and so he had in his mind kind of like this is like he kind of almost tricked himself into thinking like that's the way it worked. And then you know what I mean? Like when you do something long enough, you kind of start believing your lies. So I
When
think
you lie for long enough, you start believing it, and that's when the lies become really
right.
convincing.
Yeah, I think to the point where like he knows deep down, like obviously this is not how a Jedi mind trick works, but like he also doesn't really know how it does work. So like he only knows like what he's kind of pretended himself to and other people, and he's kind of trying to convince them. So he's lying to himself. And then when he actually goes through with it and feels the force for the first time, he's kind of like, oh, wow, that really fucking sucked.
Oh yeah, that sucked actually. No, and Kumail Nanjiani is such a fucking good actor that he conveys this in a split-second facial expression. Like the casting in this is absolutely A tier, A plus tier, and we're not even to my favorite character yet. We're not even to her yet. She's coming next episode.
Reva enters the cargo port where our heroes are hiding. She is taunting him to come out, and she reveals that Anakin Skywalker, now Lord Vader, is alive and well. Before she gets to Kenobi, she is confronted by the Grand Inquisitor, who is tired of her. She suddenly stabs him with her saber, and he falls to the ground, seemingly dead. This allows Kenobi and Leia to get away in a cargo ship. Cut to Darth Vader waking up in a Bacta tank.
So right as the scene starts, Obi-Wan telling Leia about Padme, and to be clear, he is talking about Padme. Like, there are people saying, "Oh, maybe he was talking about Satine." No, he was talking about Padme. Please use like critical
context clues,
reading skills and context clues.
Right, come on.
He is very obvious. I love Obi-Wan and Satine as a pairing too. He is very clearly talking about Padme here. Like, no tea, no shade, but please use the context clues. He is very obviously talking about Padme. I love that this is going to be an impetus for her actions later on as she gets older, learning a little bit about this friend that is actually, and you know, we're going to find out next episode, she's going to figure out that he knew her mother. This is doing a lot for the original trilogy.
They're setting up a lot.
But I love just Obi-Wan telling her about Padme, and like I melted into a puddle on the floor. I couldn't do it. I was sitting in the theater like, God, please let this end. I can't take any more of this. And then fucking Reva shows up. Can we talk about how fucking terrifying she is?
I just love how she's like just so good at just being scary, and she's just like, I'm taunting you, like I'm going to get you. Like
this is the scariest fucking thing. And like the little lullaby sing-songy like Obi-Wan shouldn't be as scary as it's fucking terrifying.
Yeah. And it's like, where did you learn this, girl? Like, where did you learn this? Because I don't think the Grand Inquisitor taught you this. Like,
she learned it from Vader.
Right.
She learned being a petty bitch from Darth Vader himself.
Clearly.
I do like that he doesn't ignite the lightsaber. I like that they make a deal of it, but he hasn't done it.
Like, he has it. He's been holding it. It's near him. He could use it at any moment, but they are saving it for clearly like his confrontation. Like they're like,
and we will get to the moment he ignites it, because the moment he does finally turn it on, perfection.
Yeah.
Literal perfection. My next note is about the bit where Reva tells him that Anakin Skywalker is still alive, and my only note is Jesus Christ.
I just don't understand.
I have no specific notes about this scene because it is so good.
It's just like, how could you just not know? Like, I don't know. I'm just like, he had such a deep connection to Anakin, and it's like he just kind of left him there. And it's like, you didn't want to just like make sure he died, like, you know, like just like make sure, like.
Well, we talked earlier about lying to yourself,
right? I think he knew.
Is established in the series to have cut himself off from the Force.
That's true.
Why doesn't Luke know that Han died in Last Jedi? because he cut himself off from
Cut
the
himself
Force.
off, right?
Obi-Wan has been cut off from the Force for 10 years. Anakin can't sense him. He can't sense Anakin.
Right, because that's why Vader can't even find him, because he's just like, I don't know where he is.
He's
I don't
cut
feel
off
him.
from the Force.
Yeah, exactly. I get it.
Now, there's been a lot of bitching from shitty online fanboys about, like, how did Reva know that Anakin is Darth Vader? Dudes, we have had 2 episodes of this show. We've now had 4. We don't necessarily have a satisfactory answer specifically spelled out for us yet.
Right.
But it is not a far cry to make this leap. This is not a thing to get weird and racist about on the internet. That, oh, she knows a thing that other people shouldn't know. My dudes, both Tarkin and Thrawn figured it out.
Yeah,
Thrawn
it's like the worst
figured it
kept
out.
secret. Yeah.
Thrawn figured it out after having one conversation, like one fucking conversation with the guy.
That's
Tarkin's figured it out. There was an Imperial inspector in the comics run that the Darth Vader, I think it was the Karen Gillan run. There was an Imperial inspector that figured it out. Like, people figure out all the time, even not knowing Reva's backstory and whether or not she knew from the Purge that Anakin was Vader, which again, she might have known. That might have been her in the opening scene. So she might have seen him as Darth Vader.
You know
it
what?
It is not a far stretch of the imagination to say that somewhere in the 10 years, that she figured it out.
True. And you know what? Honestly, they might be setting up some kind of another Order 66 scene, which I'm assuming with Reva, and showing her, like, maybe there's a scene where she sees Anakin in all of his regular glory, you know, like killing everybody and being like, oh, I know who that guy is because he's a fucking Jedi master. Like, I know exactly who Anakin Skywalker is, and seeing him kill everybody and stuff and being like, oh, he's evil. And then she just makes the connection like that's Vader. Like, she knows that that's who he is now because that's Palpatine is the leader, and she's not stupid. She can figure it out. Like, I just think it's,
Well, here's another interpretation of the scene, right? Here's a different way you can read it. She knows that Lord Vader exists. She also can kind of read Obi-Wan's thoughts because he is reconnected to the Force. And I think she does say, your thoughts betray you, Obi-Wan, at one point. She says the name Lord Vader, and Obi-Wan immediately thinks of Anakin, and that is when Reva puts it together.
Got it.
And she realizes, because she literally senses Obi-Wan's immediate turmoil, she's like, oh, Vader is Anakin. Oh, shit.
Yeah, maybe maybe Kenobi is the one who kind of inadvertently just told her. Like, that's a good interpretation.
Well,
like that,
again,
actually.
Go back to the original trilogy, Return of the Jedi. Sister, you have a twin sister. Right. Your thoughts have now betrayed her too. This is established as a thing that can happen. So yeah, it is. I have not heard anybody say that, and I just thought of it. But yeah, it is entirely possible she did not know until that moment, and Obi-Wan's thoughts gave it away.
She is a smarty.
She is. Let's talk about Reva stabbing the Grand Inquisitor.
Okay, I knew this was gonna happen. This is like everybody's fucking brother talking about this stupid ass fucking shit. I was like, all right,
everybody won't shut up about this scene.
Oh my god, I'm like,
so Reva like stabs the Inquisitor, which comes as a shock, obviously, because he's still fucking alive in Rebels.
I mean, okay, even if let's just say, for argument's sake, that you haven't seen Rebels. Let's just say that. Then, for all you know, this is just a fucking another Darth Maul situation. Like, this is just he just shows up again later. It's fine. It just no one's ever really gone. It's fine. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
even if they don't explain it, if he's like dead in the context of the show, and they never explicitly say that he's dead, they just imply it. Even if he's dead in the context of the show, that's in the context of this specific show.
Right.
And if they have to do a comic or something to bridge the gap, fine, whatever. They've come out and said that they're aware of it. But the other thing to consider is the Grand Inquisitor is terrified of his body being sent back to Darth Vader. So it is possible that Reva did in fact kill him, and they used Sith alchemy to bring him back, and it sucked.
Oh, I never thought of that.
So that also does not contradict Rebels. In fact, that makes Rebels worse.
Right, because it makes
if
him
he
even
has
more
already
evil.
died
Yeah.
here because Reva shanked him,
Mm-hmm.
and then they brought him back using, I don't know, Sith alchemy. There we go. So that doesn't contradict Rebels either.
No, it definitely doesn't. And you know what? Even if it did, I don't fucking care because he's not supposed to be the villain of the show. So
yeah,
it's
you
fine.
can do some arc welding. He served his purpose in the show.
Right. They had to
He
get
was,
rid of him
he
somehow.
was an antagonist for 2 episodes, and now they're
Right.
replacing him with Vader.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. But he's obviously not dead.
No. I mean, yeah. Here's what I like to say about this scene is if you only watch the TV shows and not the cartoons, then for all intents and purposes, yep, he's dead. And that's fine. And you can just be like, oh, that random guy that showed up at the beginning of this show randomly just died. Okay. It was her boss. She killed him because she wanted him out of the way. As far as you know, and that's all that matters. It doesn't matter because you don't watch the cartoons, so it doesn't really fucking matter. But if you do,
First of all, if you don't watch the cartoons, you're going to be real fucking locked out of this show.
Well, that's true.
But like Star Wars Explained said this when there was a controversy over Orn Free-Taa. Do you remember when Orn Free-Taa gets shot in the head in Bad Batch?
Yes.
And for a week, everybody was like, what the fuck? He is still alive in Lords of the Sith. The way Star Wars Explained rationalized it was he basically said, look, if you're only following the shows, then yeah, he's dead. He's dead in the context of that, and he doesn't pop up again. If you read the books, obviously somehow he survived. You know, right. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
It depends on your level of immersion that you want to go. Now, since this episode came out before we recorded this podcast episode, obviously they came out and said, like, we know what we're doing. My final note here is just the words, oh my God. The scene where Obi-Wan is like sensing Vader for the first time. And Vader opens his eyes and they are tinged with Sith yellow. And it's very clear that because Obi-Wan is reconnected to the Force, Vader is sensing him too.
Right. He like wakes up. He's like,
he wakes up. He's like, that's fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi.
He's like, finally, this old fart showed up.
Oh my God. Thunderous applause.
Yeah.
Thunderous applause in the theater when they showed his eyes.
I like how they, like, for you guys, they end because you got to watch them both back to back. You know, I think it's interesting that they ended it on that. And I honestly think that that was the perfect ending for this 2-episode arc, because I was worried that when they mentioned Darth Vader and, like, you know, the promos and shit, they were like, oh, Vader's going to show up in the show. I was like, oh, great. He's going to be in every goddamn episode and it's going to be terrible. And you know what I mean? Like, it's just going to overuse him or whatever. Not the case. The first 2 episodes, he did not need to be in the show, and he wasn't. He might have been mentioned once in a while, but he wasn't actually physically in the show. And the fact that they didn't introduce him to the very end of this episode.
Oh yeah, brilliant. And then the use of him in the next 2 episodes is going to continue to be absolutely stunningly good. His shadow looms over everything without his physical presence being there. And when his physical presence does show up, oh, good God. Hayden.
It's going to be good.
We'll get to that next episode.
It's going to be good.
It's going to be good. Bradley, do you have any final thoughts on Obi-Wan Kenobi Part 2?
My final thoughts on Obi-Wan Kenobi Part 2, and technically the first, I don't want to say the first half of the season, but the first chunk of the season, we'll call it, because it's, I maybe they're kind of in 2-episode arcs each time, because I felt like the next 2 are kind of similar, but I think this little section was really good. I liked this departure from Tatooine. I like the space that we're in. I love the characters that we're meeting. I just think that the show is going in such a fun direction and different, like, cinematic direction that, you know, that we're not getting anywhere else. I think it's just like an extra long movie. It's amazing, and I love the direction Deborah Chow is going, and I trust her with this whole entire story, and I want more from her.
Yes, absolutely. So good. Like, episode 2 has, in my opinion, been like the weakest of the 4 that I have watched. Okay. But it is by far one of the strongest episodes of Star Wars TV in general. And Deborah Chow's work on this show, unbelievable. unbelievable. She is absolutely knocking it out of the park. The directing of the actors, the production design, everything about this show is everything I could have wanted and more. And there's elements of it, that we could point out and be like, yeah, it's a little annoying that the Grand Inquisitor got iced at the end of episode 2 and hasn't showed up in 2 more episodes. Yeah, it's annoying that the way that was shot opened up an entire can of worms. Yeah, there's concerns about, overwriting the animated shows. All these are things that have popped up. But for the most part, I'm struggling to find criticism to level at this show. And it only gets better from here. Episode 3 may be one of my favorite episodes of anything ever.
Well, then I guess I better hurry up and do my notes on that so we can get on to that episode.
I also need to do my notes. Alrighty, so by the time we record our episode 3, our plan is to continue to do double times. This episode will come out on, fingers crossed, editing isn't too bad, Friday or Saturday. Ideally. I'm gonna shoot for Friday. I think I can do it. I think I can have it Friday morning. I'll have it out. I think so. Okay. By the next time, I will at least be semi-moved into the new place.
Gotcha.
So I will have some padding on my voice. And then hopefully by episode 4, my computer bank will be set up and everything will be back to normal. So thank you all. If you have sat through this episode, thank you for bearing with my slightly wonky audio. It is worth it just to talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi. Bradley, what was that?
Thank you for listening to Gold Squadron Gays.
Did Charles fuck something up? Email us and let us know at goldsquadrongays@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at goldsquadgays, and you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at goldsquadrongays. Subscribe to us on YouTube at Gold Squadron Gays, where we post this podcast as well as exclusive video content.
Please join us next week and every week for another episode of Gold Squadron Gays.
I think Bradley is currently Googling it.
Yeah, I'm trying.
How does it feel to be me, bitch?
Oh God, he has more than one kid.